Hello class, and welcome to the last video for Unit 2, and this is review of two variable stats. Okay, just remember with two variables, ladies and gentlemen, we plot them, x versus y. Usually we're going to have a scatter plot. Okay, it might be an increasing function, it might be a decreasing function, and remember you do the line of best fit or the curve of best fit, and then you make predictions based on that. Okay, so let's take a look at the important key topics. Again, I won't be giving this to every unit, but this is a good unit to go over a lot of things. So first thing you need to know, dependent versus independent variables. Be able to identify them either in a graph, a table, or in a word problem. Okay. Scatter plots, be able to graph them by hand and by using the TI-83. And again, you can use the calculator button sheet if you need. I'll actually print it off and make sure you got it ready for you for your test. Okay? You want to know the ranges between positive, negative, and no correlations. Remember that it's closest to positive or negative one that tells you the strength. Okay, and remember that the strength goes, actually I'm jumping ahead of myself, so let's just wait till we get to the strength here. Okay, describing the relationship is as x increases, but don't tell me as x, whatever the independent variable is, increases, tell me what happens to the y, ... So y either increases or it decreases, and tell me instead of x and y, relate to the problem. So as the hot chocolate sales, as the weather increases, so do the hot chocolate sales. Okay, strength. Now the strength, folks, is based on the scale, okay, that was in the textbook that we've gone also in our lesson, and it breaks it down into thirds, right? Okay, so weak, moderate, strong. Okay, correlation coefficient, ladies and gentlemen, that's your R value. Okay, make sure you know how to use the graphing calculator to get that, and don't forget to do this. You've got to turn diagnostics on. Okay. Okay. Each time, if you reset your calculator after one example, you've got to make sure you turn it back on again. Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, line of best fit. It could also be a curve, but if it's a line, it's y equals, according to the graphing calculator, ax plus b instead of m. Okay. And please note that you can sub that in. Okay. Make sure you know how to do the linear regression. Which is the same as the least squares method. So if you're looking on your formula sheet, it's the least squares line of best fit. Okay, and make sure that when it could be a curve, if you're doing this, folks, a curve could be the nonlinear. Okay. All right, where are we now? Okay, so remember that when you do a linear regression or nonlinear regressions, this gives you an R value and an R squared value. Make sure you know which one's the correlation coefficient and one's the coefficient of determination. Okay? Make sure you know the definitions of interpolation and extrapolation. Inter means inside. Extrapolation means to predict based on the future or outside the data set. Next one, use the equation of the line to make predictions. So please make sure that if you're doing this by hand, right, and I ask you to plot a bunch of data points and then make a prediction and then do a line of best fit by hand, make sure that if I ask a question that says, hey, predict in 2025 what's going to happen, make sure that, remember, you can do a dotted line to extend your data. So always watch for that before you do any of your homework questions or any of your questions on your test. Okay, and you use the equation of the line as well to make predictions. So you can sub in x value, sub in y value. So if x equals the year 2017, like it did frequently in our notes, you would sub that in and find the y value. Okay, so non-linear regression on the TI-83, it may, so non-linear regression, sometimes will give you an R value, but sometimes it gives you the R squared. And R squared is the coefficient of determination. Remember, that's a percentage, so make sure you know the definition between those two. Okay, but remember when you're doing non-linear regression that if it gives you just the R value, because R equals the square root of R squared, obviously, and also specify that sometimes you see it as capital R, depending on what type of technology you're using. You'll see lowercase or uppercase. Okay, but remember that if you're asked to describe the R value, you've got to look at the sign of the A term, because that'll tell you if it's positive or negative correlation. because sometimes if you have just an r squared value, you take the square root of it, you don't know it because it could be positive or negative. Okay? So always use the sign of a to help you with that. Okay? To tell you if it's a strong positive or a strong negative. Okay? Which model best fits the data? I would say whichever one has the closest R value, and go with that. Or whichever one fits the data the best. Okay? We already did the correlation of determination up here. Relationship types, make sure you check out the handout that I gave you on that one. Make sure you know all the different kinds, as well as the extraneous variables. Okay, please make sure that you're well practiced with the TID3. Make sure it's your best friend and that you're ready to use it for your unit test. Okay, so you will have a work period coming up where you're going to practice with the TID3s, make study notes, make sure you've printed off your button sheet that you need, and there are questions on page 212. Just omit when you're doing that section 3.5 because it's no longer part of our curriculum. All right, happy studying, gang. If you need some help, come see me. Have a great day.